We believe in a future that belongs to everyone. A future built on the promise of technology and the progress of all, where we can accelerate digital transformation while transforming the ways we create meaningful impact. At Wipro, we're helping organizations around the world harness the power of emerging technology to transform their companies and local communities into engines of growth and opportunity. With more than 190,000 employees across 63 countries, we're advancing innovation, changing the way businesses are run, and empowering leaders to stay competitive. We're reimagining the role of sustainability, making it more than just a daily business practice, but a part of a company's enduring purpose. At Wipro, we're committed to creating a more resilient world for business and for all. Because in a future that belongs to everyone, the future must work for everyone. Wipro.
The beating heart of Mandaue City is changing. The new pace of transformation is felt everywhere in every industry. And with Mandaue, its chamber moves with it, leading the way to bring business to the future. The Mandaue Chamber of Commerce and Industry was founded in 1965 with a vision of catapulting local businesses to new heights and bridging people and industries to create a stronger, more vibrant economy. Today, MCCI remains the pace setter for progress and ingenuity. It is a multi-awarded chamber and has been recognized by the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry as the most outstanding chamber in the Visayas and in the Philippines for 2019. A leader in bringing innovation and awareness among the business community. MCCI supports SMEs by providing them with knowledge, resources, and opportunities for growth. Fosters ingenuity by promoting local creativity and helping communities leverage their strengths. Boosts innovation by working with experts from different fields to bring technology-aided improvements to its member companies. By working with the youth to promote innovative learning opportunities and dynamic activities. Strengthens local businesses by working with relevant institutions to protect the interests of business and allowing it to thrive in today's competitive global economy. Builds networks by creating lasting and relevant connections among people, companies, organizations, and industries to amplify business relationships. Business today is global. You need a global, agile chamber that understands the needs of business and industry, brings the best innovation, strong networks, ingenuity, Filipino creativity, powerful local communities, and business agility to help you build the business of tomorrow. MCCI, growing your business, growing the global community.
I'm Joy.
Hello, I'm Yayo Aguila.
Hi, I'm Raymond Bonaventura,
And I found my dream home in
Lamudi.
I was actually been looking for a house for quite some time already, but I haven't found something that I really, really like in terms of design, in terms of budget, and in terms of location. So that's to get those three in one property is kind of really hard for me. And I've tried different platforms, but I gave up and then I just typed in Google any available properties near my location and then Lamudi pops up. It's also my first encounter with Lamudi. So I tried browsing through the platform and I found this properties and I went to visit around 3 properties in my area and I found this one because it's actually in terms of the budget, in terms of what I really want, it has it.
I heard about it from my daughter. 3 years ago, we were looking for a place, for a house that we wanted to rent. And she was the first one to find something. And then that very same day, I was also looking online for a property. And then we did our ocular when we went to the property. Then we found that we were looking at the same property and we were talking to the very same broker. So that's how my Lamudi journey began.
I found out about the Moody upon my Google search on some homes on lots and condominiums. I was looking around the Nuvali area, and then I saw Lamudi as one of the top results. And then upon going on the website, I immediately got connected to an agent, and then from there we already found our dream home.
It's the Philippines.
And we are ANC.
Maayong buntag. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Colliers Philippines second quarter 2021 Cebu property market briefing. A lot has happened since our last briefing. We're glad that all of you took time to join us today. This webinar is presented in partnership with Wipro, the Mandaue Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, Lamudi Philippines, and the ABS-CBN News Channel. I am Maricris Sarino Hoson, Director for Client Services, your host and moderator for this webinar. Strides were made in terms of the vaccination rate and economic gains, but there are a lot of new challenges in the horizon, especially with the Delta variant of COVID-19. However, there's still many reasons for us to be optimistic. We have a great program for you today, so we hope you will stick around until the end. First, let me walk you through some of the functions and setups on your screen that will enable you to interact with us during this webinar. You have a control panel on your screen with several functions. If you have questions for the speakers or the panelists, you may send a message through the chat box and I will read them aloud during the open forum. We will do our best to address as many questions as possible. If time won't permit, we will reach out to you after this webinar via email. Now that we've gotten the instructions out of the way, we are ready to begin our webinar. The province of Cebu has long been regarded as the commercial center of the Visayas. Historically and culturally rich, this province is composed of 3 independent cities, 6 component cities, and 38 municipalities. Within this province is Metro Cebu, a metro area of close to 3 million residents. And right at its center is its urban core and provincial capital, Cebu City, the Queen City of the South, and the province center of commerce, trade, education, and industry. Over the years, Cebu and its neighboring cities have transformed itself into a hub of business process outsourcing, shipping, tourism, furniture making, and heavy equipment. For a briefing, experts from Colliers Research and Office Services will discuss our latest insights in Cebu's office and residential real estate sectors. Daghang salamat. Joey, your presentations were indeed very insightful. I'm sure at this point our viewers have a lot of questions to ask. So let me invite Gerard back on screen again. Joey's here already. But before we go into the Q&A proper, let me introduce to you our panelists who will be sharing their insights as well. Our first panelist began his career at Colliers as a research assistant in 2007. In 2013, he moved to the Office Services Tenant Representation Department as manager. In 2017, he was promoted as director and head of Tenant Representation Department, in charge of ensuring the growth and profitability of the business line and help the team consistently exceed its revenue targets. Part of his initiative is to foster strong relationships with clients through solid engagement activities and a high level of market expertise and service excellence. He recently graduated from the Asian Institute of Management with a degree of Executive Master in Business Administration. Please welcome our Director for Office Services, Tenant Representation, Dom Fredrick Andaya. Hi, Dom.
Hi, Chris. Thank you so much. Good
Thank
morning.
you. Morning. Our second panelist has completed several studies and has advised numerous clients all over the Philippines. This includes market feasibility, highest and best use studies in Metro Manila, Greater Manila, and the Vismin areas, township projects, and market reports from various Philippine companies, IPO, and REIT offerings. She currently heads the Visayas Mindanao team of Colliers Advisory Services Division, responsible for all the studies in the region, as well as ad hoc studies in various areas in the country. Please welcome our Associate Director for Advisory Services, Karla Domingo. Hi, Karla.
Hi, good morning, Chris. Good
Morning.
morning,
Karla.
everyone.
Finally, our third panelist is the country head of Wipro Philippines and trustee for the international relations at Cebu IT BPM organization, Mr. Aseem Roy. Mr. Roy counts 10 years of work experience in the Asia Pacific Japan region. In his 20-year stint with Wipro, he has managed different portfolios of service delivery, transition, process excellence, greenfield setup, and now leads the geo delivery for Wipro in ASEAN. He is a Six Sigma professional, a commerce graduate with MBA in information system, and is avidly involved in driving Wipro's digital offerings and business strategy at the regional level. He has been the fundamental driving force in making Wipro among the India headquartered company in the Philippines and the largest private employer in Cebu City. He has a rich and diversified experience managing businesses in 3 international locations that cover multiple customers and people in complex technology landscape. He is also the trustee for international relations for Cebu's prominent IT BPM industry. Please welcome Mr. Aseem Roy. Hi, Aseem. Good morning. Okay, so for the first question, I think Gerard, your 24.8% vacancy is a figure that is given, is given priority right now by Cebu tenants. Tell us more about the growth prospects of Cebu's office sector. What do we expect to see a recovery in terms of lower vacancy rates?
Well, Chris, if the Cebu recovery will definitely be hinged mostly on the vaccine program, because a lot of companies still have employees that are not yet fully vaccinated. And with the onslaught of the Delta variant, that's really left us back to work from home. Now, once it moves forward, and then companies would employees would now go back to the office, there will be a spillover of space, because you have to understand the IT BPM sector. They were hiring during the height of the pandemic, while most of the companies some companies have stopped. And so having new employees that are still based work from home, and then having them to come back to a new hybrid office setup will definitely add more space take up for the office market.
Gerard, another question. Aside from the BPO sector, we're seeing leasing activities for non-BPO occupiers. To add on to this, a question from Kevin Posostro. What compromises traditional companies?
A traditional company is something that's non-BPO. That's one, and it's actually it could be your office, like your multinational companies, government offices, and you could also include your co-working companies there. And the next, what's the question again, Chris? The other one.
Are we seeing leasing activities from non-BPO occupiers such as traditional? Are other segments in the market growing during this pandemic that will help lower the vacancy rate of Cebu?
Well, surprisingly, the traditional office sector here has really taken up more space, as what was presented in the report. Mostly, what we've seen is that there are some movements in terms of government offices. So some government offices have already moved out from their previous spaces and have actually relocated to better locations for better accessibility. So that's one key driver that's actually fueling the Cebu take up of traditional office spaces.
Chris, I just want to add a point
Yes.
about the potential of Cebu. No? So aside from the vaccination, which is really what's needed, in terms of the long-term prospects, what will benefit Cebu are the infrastructure projects. So one of the main criticisms about Cebu is its congestion, although it works both ways, right? It works in a positive way, such a way that, there are a lot of available talent that can be hired, quality talent from Cebu. But at the same time, given that the 10-year growth that we experienced previously, it resulted in hyper competition, congestion in terms of traffic. But I think with the significant improvements in terms of infrastructure that will be felt probably in the next 2 to 3 years, these are the things that potential investors should look into right now.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dom. The infrastructure in Cebu will really help bring in again the interest back in Cebu, because what we've been seeing the past quarters is strong interest in Bacolod, in Iloilo. So, Gerard, we can capitalize on those new infrastructure developments in Cebu. So for the next question from Stephen Casimiro, this is related for work from home. So Aseem, this pandemic has shown the work from home setup is possible for the BPO sector. Would you say that this is going to be permanent for the industry? Aseem?
Am I audible?
Aseem, we can't hear you.
Okay. Is it audible? Is this better? Can you hear me, please?
It's the volume's kind of low.
Let me try it. Just give me.
Okay, so
Is it better now?
Yes, perfect. Yes. Can you
Okay.
please share with us your view on the work from home setup? Is this possible for the BPO sector? Would you say that this is going to be permanent in the industry, the work from home setup?
So first of all, thank you, Colliers, for inviting me for this panel discussion. Yeah, so I think the broad answer is the year 2020 or 21 has shown that things that we thought was unthinkable had happened. We were all confined to our production area inside the offices, thinking that data security is so important that you can't step out. But today, good or bad of the pandemic, almost, at least for Wipro, I can say that almost 85% of our employees are working from home. At an industry level, what the figure that IBPAP has published, that almost 70% of the IT BPO companies are working from home and 30% are actually working from office. So that's on the positive side of what we have seen. But is it permanent? Is it sustainable? I think a lot will depend on how the economy opens up, how the pace of vaccination, what is acceptable to the customers. All we can say that I think we have to find a balance between working from home or working from office, and that's why we typically use the word WFX or work from anywhere, because that's how the industry is going to move. So why I think it may not be permanent? Yes, possibly because of the fact that there is a need. We all are people. We are humans. There's a need to meet. There's a need to collaborate. And as I said, it's also about possibly some data security issue that we have to take care of. But on the hindsight, when I say why it is possible, possibly because of the benefits of work from home had been great. The productivity for a lot of businesses actually seen an improvement, especially areas where there's a good infrastructure at home. You have a good fiber connectivity, internet connectivity with seamless transition. I think those things have worked. But it's too early at this point of time to say whether this is going to be permanent. But I think definitely there's a shift from where we thought that it's all about office. I think it's going to be a more flexible model going forward. And we look forward to it, because I think companies need to find a balance. And I think that balance, every organization is debating within themselves, what is going to be their strategy for return to work.
Thank you, Aseem. Very, very insightful. I think that's one of the questions right now being asked for organization is what is the hybrid ways of working or work model that is applicable for their organizations right now. So that's why a lot of studies have been released related to hybrid work model. So thanks, Asim, again. For the next question, Karla, what kind of residential projects are doing well in Cebu? Have you seen an uptick on interest in beachfront properties or single detached housing in Cebu?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for that question. Actually, we've seen the affordable and the luxury segments do quite well during the pandemic. They're actually the ones driving demand for Cebu at the moment. But actually, it's more really what we've observed is that buyers have now become more discerning in terms of looking for their residential condominiums. It's not more on the segment, no? It's how the developers or the projects give value to the money that is being put in by the buyer. So it's now more value for money. What can my 1.1 million give me as opposed to a 1.2 million condo? So is the additional 100,000 pesos worth the money for me? Is it really worth that additional expense? So I think it's really more value for money now. Those projects that prove to have additional value for a person or for a buyer, that is performing very well. In terms of uptake in the beachfront properties, at the moment, we all know that those are investment properties, leisure properties, and they're really hit by the pandemic. So it's at a stalemate at the moment, but pre-pandemic, the numbers were quite well. They were doing well. And we see that moving forward as the tourism industry gets back on its feet, the leisure industry gets back on its feet, we will see an uptick again in the beachfront properties.
Karla, additional question. What strategies are Cebu-based developers employing to boost their sales right now?
Well, most of the strategies that were being employed are actually a play on payment terms. So stretched payment terms, lower down payment, and additional appliances or other perks such as free night stay in some hotels, free appliances, gadgets, and the like were seen employed during the pandemic.
Thanks, Karla. Joey, from John Cabrera, what are the forecasts or prospects of the Cebu real estate tourism industry? Cebu tourism sector has suffered a great deal during the pandemic. What steps do you think are needed to jumpstart this industry, Joey? Joey, you're in mute.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well, definitely Cebu tourism was affected by the pandemic. Of course, it's not just in Cebu, but across the Philippines. So the question now is, when will the recovery happen? There are several forecasts, but the IATA is saying that recovery will probably happen latter part of 2023 or early part of 2024. And this has really, affected a lot of airline companies shelving their expansion plans. And but I think for tourism in general, we're optimistic that it should be the local or domestic tourism that should help kickstart the recovery of this sector, because in the travel bubbles are already being allowed, and we hope that once the country achieves population protection and herd immunity, more will be allowed to travel by plane to other key destinations. I remember when we had our previous presentation, a lot of our participants chose, the beach properties. They want to travel to Cebu, to Palawan, and these are among the more popular travel destinations, and they really are raring to visit these places again. So let's see if the achievement of herd immunity or population protection will be enough to help stoke and lift the local tourism sector. But right now, the global prospect does not look so bright, and it will probably take a few more years before we welcome the same level of Chinese or Korean tourists that we welcomed in 2018 or 2019.
Thank you, Joey. Another question. E-commerce is one of the big winners during the pandemic. Do you think Cebu's industrial sector will thrive beyond 2021? Which areas do you think will do well?
I'll let Iad respond to that.
Gerard?
Well, yes, definitely. There's more room for the e-commerce to come here to Cebu in particular. One challenge right now for the Cebu industrial industry is that there are not a lot of warehouses or logistical requirements that can support the growth of the e-commerce industry. Some of the companies that we've talked to, their requirement is to really be that warehouse can really be somewhere inside Cebu City or Mandaue City. But in terms of, there are some local legislation that actually prevents them from having warehouses in these areas. So most of the areas right now that we see that will going to grow for warehousing and for industrial sector would be that Consolacion, Liloan area in north. And then there's also the project that's being done in Minglanilla in south and also in Naga south. So these are the areas where these warehouses are being able to put up.
Thanks, Gerard. From Ryan Boswell, he mentioned that you spoke about the uptake in the BPO sector. Are you able to elaborate on this uptake? Is it the first time offshore networks or expansion or existing networks? Average size of this uptakes against company production size. So he's talking about the sizes of new take-ups that we're having in Cebu, average size, and what is the motivation of these expansions?
Hi, Ryan.
Yeah.
Actually, this is one of our good friends in the industry. So hi, Ryan. Most of the uptake are actually from expansions from companies, from the big players here in Cebu. But there are also a lot of traditional offices that have started to put up. So in terms of new company from US or from other countries that have started to come in, none yet so far. But yes, Aseem, you have anything to say?
No, Gerard, carry on. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. So and then most of the average uptake from the spaces would run about as low as 300 square meters to as high as about 2,200 square meters or a whole floor.
Yes, maybe you want to add on based on your discussions with colleagues in the industry. Do you see uptakes and motivations for expansions during the pandemic?
So I think, I'll give a more holistic view, and this may also relate to some comparison that happened with Manila NCR. So, like I said, I also manage the international relations for CIBO, which is the leading IT-BPO organization. So I think what has happened, Manila NCR has been more or less on and off on MECQ, ECQ. The status has been kind of choppy. While if I compare with Cebu for the good almost 1 year, we were in a MGCQ, a very, very stable condition for any BPO IT company to kind of set up their shop. So there has been a lot of inquiries. There has been a lot of interest shown in Cebu. In fact, I did share with Gerard, some of the leading global IT BPO companies are actually looking for expansion. Even for Wipro, we are growing by almost 10% in Cebu. As we are kind of, we continue to grow this year. So we are kind of signing off some leads. So Cebu remains extremely attractive. If I compare with what happened in Manila NCR and possibly Iloilo, for example, Iloilo grew very fast in 2020. But today, if I go back to Iloilo, there is no real estate really available at this point of time. While in Cebu, those options remain. So I think we continue to be extremely bullish on the potential that Cebu poses. And the very fact it has a great infrastructure. I know, Dom's mentioned about the traffic. I think that's one thing that kind of been the pain area. But I think during the pandemic, thankfully, even that traffic was not there. But apart from that, there is a good infrastructure, there is a good power connectivity, and a lot of good infrastructure project that's coming up. I think that should keep Cebu's destination as a leading IT BPM industry or ETM destination intact, pretty much.
Thank you, Aseem. Very assuring for optimism we see in the Cebu market. Another important activity that happened start of the year is the signing of President Duterte of the CREATE law, or the Comprehensive Real Estate Tax Reform Law. Aseem, in your point of view, what are your views on the CREATE law and impact on Wipro?
So I think CREATE law, and there are a lot of flurry of other initiatives that are going on right now, is definitely going to help the industry. I think bringing it at par, like I said, we are a global company. We operate across the globe and in Southeast Asia. So those comparison on what are the tax rates is definitely bound to come up. And I think this is the step in the right direction. And not just the CREATE law, the very fact that there is a vaccine rollout that's happening. In Cebu, at least, I think 16% of the population has been vaccinated, which is higher than the national average. Then there's an opening of economy. To be fair, I think this has been managed well. Plus, whether it's CREATE bill or Senate bill 2232, that I think it's also being tabled. All this is creating the favorable environment. And, like I said, it's good to have everything under one umbrella if you are an investor. So these are very positive steps, and I think we continue to support them. And not just as a company, but as an industry as well.
Thank you, Aseem. Dom, would you want to add on? I'm sure a lot of our participants here have a lot of questions on CREATE as well as in tax implications, Dom.
Yeah, I agree with most of the points raised by Aseem. So what I wanted to just emphasize is the sunset provision of the CREATE, which provides for 10 years. For existing enterprises to experience the current tax incentives. So that's, I think, more than enough for them to, stabilize the business, especially during this pandemic. And the assumption really is that with all this build programs, as well as the other policies that are being passed right now, the assumption is that in the next probably 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a better business environment for the Philippines. And I think that's the main come on that the country is trying to prepare for, to lure more investors into the country. Not only that, I know what we have not discussed is the investment being put into our education system. It's already free education from elementary all the way to college. So there are issues with the educational system, but at least in terms of funding, there is funding. So that's gonna further improve our talent, the quality of our talent, which is the main come on for the BPOs.
Thanks, Dom. So Aseem, the drivers really of growth of the Philippines is OFW remittance and BPO. What do you think are the current threats in the Philippines that the BPO market will soon transition to India? Any thoughts on this coming from Leia Romero?
Yeah, so I'll give a personal example. We are a major India headquartered company with regional headquarters in Cebu, and we are extremely proud of our achievements in Cebu. I don't think we have to be too concerned about what is happening in the industry. I think Philippines has created a niche for themselves. They are not fair comparisons, because if I just tell you between India and Philippines, in India, it's almost 90% is IT and 10% is BPO. While I look at Philippines, it's exactly the opposite. It's almost 90% BPO and 10%. So I think that also shows the level of priority the Philippines government and the academe and industry gives to that. Yes, there is a shift. There's more automation. There's more focus toward new emerging technologies. And I think, like Dom's mentioned, I think the focus has to be on reskilling, skilling, training our folks. There is an ardent advantage. I think the very fact that Philippines holds in terms of a work culture, an affinity to the Western hemisphere, and I think general customer service orientation is great. I think these are the strengths, and I think we should just continue to build upon that, not get scared by it, momentarily, yearly challenges that may come here and there. Yes, one thing that we have been working very closely with the industry level is improve connectivity. Today, it's all about data and how do you present that data into relevant information. So one of the key struggles was work from home smooth? No, not in the initial part, but as things settle down, we settle down to the new normal. I think what's most important is that data and connectivity should be affordable, and it should be at world class. I think that's important for us to continue, be competitive and succeed.
That's a very important point, Aseem, is really data connectivity to make it more affordable. Not only data connectivity, but electricity as well. So these are the things that the Philippines can improve on to making it competitive. And as Dom mentioned, it's not India or Philippines. It's India and Philippines really servicing this market. Thank you so much for all your insights. So no more questions that I can see from the viewers. So thank you to our speakers and panelists, Joey Roy Bondoc, Gerard Thomas Padriga, Dom Fredrick Andaya, Karla Domingo, and Aseem Roy for gamely answering our viewers' questions, sharing their insights, and taking us through the landscape of Cebu's real estate sector as we head towards a new and hopefully progressive year. And now, before we go, we'd like to once again thank our event partners, Wipro, the Mandaue Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, Lamudi Philippines, and the ABS-CBN News Channel. To officially close our program, let's hear some final remarks from our Managing Director, Richard Raimundo.
Thanks, Chris. So thank you for joining us this morning in our Cebu property market briefing. Being the second biggest property market after Metro Manila, Cebu plays an important role in our industry. I hope you got valuable insights that will help you in the property investment decisions in Cebu. While there are challenges, it remains clear that Cebu offers incredible opportunities. Colliers remains steadfast in its support for Cebu. For your leasing, consultancy, valuation, or property management requirements in Cebu, please reach out to us and the Colliers team. We would like to help you accelerate your success. So stay safe and healthy, and we are looking forward to talking to you soon. Maayong hapon sa inyong lahat.
Daghang salamat, Richard, and thank you everyone who joined our webinar today. You're welcome to reach out to our team if you have further questions or would like to receive more information about the presentations today. If you'd like to stay updated on our latest news and insights on Philippine property market, please follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also visit our website by scanning the QR code shown on your screen to download copies of our quarterly reports. All of those who registered and attended this webinar will receive an e-newsletter with a link to our Q2 2021 Cebu Market Report and to a video recording of today's open forum. If you'd like to hear more from Joey, he has a weekly column in the Philippine Daily Inquirer called Colliers Review. It comes out every Saturday in the newspaper property section, so make sure you grab a copy of Inquirer or stay tuned online at inquirer.net. Once again, on behalf of Colliers, thank you for joining us today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next briefing. Goodbye, everyone, and wish you all a fantastic second half of 2021 as things gradually continue to get better. Magkita ta sa sunod na Cebu webinar.